So Scotland has a brand new dystopian censorship law. And I guess the launch hasn't gone quite as well as they'd hoped. Here's the headline: Scottish First Minister defends hate crime law. Citizens use it to report him. Yeah. Before we get into this, let's take a look at the law itself very quickly. So here we have legislation.gov.uk, Hate Crime and Public Order, Scotland, Act 2021. So it's been in the works for a few years, and it was just enacted on April 1st. So it says here, a person commits an offense if the person behaves in a manner that a reasonable person would consider to be threatening, abusive, or insulting. And I'm going to go ahead and guess that the definition of reasonable person is not what you would consider to be reasonable. But let's continue. Communicates to another person material that a reasonable person would consider to be threatening, abusive, or insulting, and either, in doing so, the person intends to stir up hatred against a group of persons based on the group being defined by reference to race, color, nationality, including citizenship or ethnic or national origins, or a reasonable person would consider the behavior or the communication of the material to be likely to result in hatred being stirred up against such a group. So a reasonable person is going to decide whether or not something you've said or written is likely to result in hatred. Not that it has resulted in it, but it's likely to. Now, there's other characteristics that are protected here too: age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, transgender identity specifically, variations in sex characteristics. I don't know what that is. Maybe if you've got a third nipple. Now, I'm sure the Scots will find this comforting. A person's behavior includes behavior of any kind, and in particular, things that the person says or otherwise communicates, as well as things the person does. But it's behavior of any kind. Okay, that seems awfully broad. May consist of a single act or a course of conduct. Let's see, the ways in which a person may communicate material to another person are by displaying, publishing, or distributing the material. So displaying where? In your house? That would seem to be included in the behavior of any kind part. Giving, sending, showing, or playing the material to another person. Again, where? Just in your house? Apparently, it means in your house. Making the material available to another person in any other way. Again, this means literally anywhere, anytime, in your house. I mean, when are the telescreens going up on the wall so the big brother can watch it 24/7? Maybe that's part of Agenda 2030. But this also would include a play, a song you wrote, and just literally anything that some far leftist is going to find offensive. Now, what's your punishment if a reasonable person thinks that you're guilty? Well, a term not exceeding 7 years, or a fine, or both. So up to 7 years in prison plus a fine. I'm guessing it's going to be a large fine. But let's go back up to here for a second. It says stirring up hatred against a group of persons based on the group being defined by reference to race. And then let's go back here again. Scottish First Minister defends hate crime law. Citizens use it to report him. Well, why would they be reporting him? What could he have possibly said?
The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every Prison Governor, white. And not just Justice. The Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer.
Yeah, it goes on like that with him apparently enraged by the fact that Scotland is full of Scots. And you hear that, how he's like, wait. It's like an accusation. This feels like hate to me. Well, apparently that brought in 4,000 complaints against him in his own law. But before you start celebrating, yeah, this law was never going to be used against him. That's not who it's intended for. These laws only go one way. We know that at this point, don't we? Scottish police responded to the large number of complaints, telling the BBC that they had already looked into Yousaf's comments back in 2020 and had determined that there was nothing criminal about what he said. Now, they also confirmed that the new law would not be implemented retroactively. And I guess the Scottish people will have to find out how true that is. But even if he'd said it on April 1st, it wouldn't matter. The law's not for him. These censorship laws only get enforced one way, and we know which way that is. Now, J.K. Rowling wanted to stir things up a little bit. So on April 1st, she published a long thread here featuring a bunch of trans women. And J.K. Rowling has, of course, been very vocal about having biological males in women's spaces, in women's prisons, that sort of thing. She doesn't like it. And she's been attacked relentlessly by activists because of that. But she posted some little write-ups on some very unsavory characters who seem to have had late-life conversions after they were convicted of horrible crimes. And then, some more like dainty lasses like this, just a man playing women's sports, not even try. I mean, there's no effort there whatsoever. Here's a UN Women UK delegate. Apparently, she switched from straight man to lesbian at the age of 48. And now UN Women UK delegate. That don't make a lick of sense to me. And she ended it with, only kidding. Obviously, the people mentioned in the above tweets aren't women at all, but men. Every last one of them. In passing the Scottish Hate Crime Act, Scottish lawmakers seem to have placed higher value on the feelings of men performing their idea of femaleness, however misogynistically or opportunistically, than on the rights and freedoms of actual women and girls. And she ends it with, I'm currently out of the country, but if what I've written here qualifies as an offense under the terms of the new act, I look forward to being arrested when I return to the birthplace of the Scottish Enlightenment. So she's daring them to arrest her. And I'm sure there are baying mobs of activists who would love to have her arrested and thrown in jail for 7 years or for life, maybe. Maybe stoned to death. But that's not going to happen because the law's not really even for her. Police not pressing charges after J.K. Rowling dares them to arrest her for challenging hate speech law. And I'm glad that she did this, and it's important that she did this. But she was never going to get arrested. It's not for her. It's not for Hamza Yusuf. It's for regular people. It's for the everyman. It's to keep them silent. It's to keep them from speaking truth to power. It's to keep them from accurately describing the reality around them. And it's something that sane people around the Western world will recognize. In Canada, Justin Trudeau's trying to push his insane censorship bill, C-63, which actually threatens a life sentence for hate speech crimes, as well as other various dystopian remedies for online harms, so-called online harms. I've made a number of videos about that, which you can check out if you subscribe to my channel. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Sharing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.